Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some Breakout gameplay. This is just a little gameplay that I got before making this commentary. I basically have not really played too much Breakout at all. It's honestly not the sort of game type that's tailored for me, for my tastes. Really, when it comes down to Halo, some of the core fundamental aspects of the gameplay that I really enjoy, stuff like the higher health. You have more tools at your disposal to dispatch the enemy team, and I just think there's more of an emphasis on having more tools to prove who the better player is, whereas Breakout is slightly more based upon instinct and allows more room to get clutch plays for better or for worse. Now, I don't necessarily hate the idea of Breakout. I actually really like the lives-based idea of Halo gameplay. It actually worked really well in Gears of War. Gears of War Execution and Warzone were two game types that I was extremely fond of because they allowed for clutch plays and just really skillful maneuvers and tactical-based gameplay where you had to really work alongside your teammates. My problem is when it comes down to lower health, I feel like there's way too much flexibility in the kind of ways that you can get BS'd and the kind of ways you can BS other players, and that's just not something I'm too fond of. However, despite all of this, I do totally understand where they're coming from with the game type, because the bottom line is sometimes it's hard to get newer players invested in Halo right off the bat. I remember I had this friend back in secondary school who I really wanted to get into Halo 3. At the time, the only two games he played were Lego Star Wars 2 and King Kong, and I was kind of baffled by the fact that those were the only two games he played. And I was like, dude, you really need to get into Halo. Like, Halo is this amazing game that I play pretty much every day. I'm getting a lot better at it. We could rank up together. We could have a great time. And he bought the game on my advice, and he ended up coming into school the next day and really not having that great a time with it. It didn't really catch his interest. He was like, I just keep getting destroyed, the connections aren't that great for me, I'm just not really enjoying my time on it. And it turns out that he just kind of needed a buffer playlist that would get him in without necessarily having to go full tryhard, without necessarily having to learn every single map, without necessarily having to understand the game to its core. And that game mode was Zombies. Zombies was just something fun to learn a couple of the weapons, to learn in which the base movement, how the base movement functioned, without getting it absolutely destroyed. And I think that's what Zombies was for a lot of people. And I think Breakout could function in a similar fashion. I think it's another way in which we can get players on the fence regarding Halo into this game, because the bottom line is some people just don't have the time to put into a game like Halo, to learn the ins and outs, to learn the fundamentals of the game, because it does take quite some time, and your aim will suck for quite some time. You won't have a knowledge of the callouts for quite some time. You might not get it for a really long time, because you might just not have the resources at your disposal, or you might not have the patience. And Breakout is this way of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for creating opportunities for clutch plays, for creating opportunities to get the better of your opponent without necessarily having to have this background knowledge, without necessarily having to have X amount of hours. You can play off of instinct, and I think there's something very tempting about that offer. And even for the better players who want to approach Breakout, it's an opportunity for you to kind of switch off your brain and not necessarily having to be going full try-hard in the mental department, and just letting your instincts carry you through. And it's definitely very exciting, and I love the idea of spectating players as they play and just allowing for more dynamic opportunities to have, because the lower health kind of offers these clutch triple kills, these clutch moments where you push into a base and you do get these free kills. I think that's one of the biggest problems that Guardians faces in drawing in new players, is that Guardians actually has a really, really high kill time, but it's very, very hard to pull off those kills in the main game. And as a result, you see a lot of people getting extremely frustrated at Guardians for the time to kill, for how quickly they die. And I actually am a big fan of that time to kill, and I'm a big fan for the reasoning behind this, but I totally understand how newer players coming in are having a hard time getting to grips with it, and are getting kind of mollywopped right off of the bat. Shoutouts to Dell. But the bottom line is, I do kind of wish there were a couple of changes here and there put into motion to make me enjoy the game a little bit more. Some of which are from a selfish reason, and I do think the game is going to remain roughly the same for the reasons I just described. It's not like they intentionally. Sorry, it's not like they unintentionally dumbed down the game in certain ways and they unintentionally made the game the way it is. They wanted it to play like this because they wanted it to have that, you know, oh, I'll get on and play a couple of rounds of Breakout for a bit of fun, and there's a good chance that you might pull off some ridiculous triple kill without necessarily having the highest knowledge or highest skill of the game. And it also translates well from other games. You know, I think it's very easy from a Call of Duty player to come to this game and instantly like understand the kind of the makeup of this game type and how to approach it more so than they would in other games. I would like a little bit more of Halo's underlying themes. Stuff like the grenades should be more of a pickup and they should be more something to fight for. Me and Elementary were discussing this in depth. Because the fact of the matter is you spawn in with one grenade and it's a one-hit kill, and then you can also pick up more grenades on the map, and they're kind of for free. There's these giant clusters of grenades, and they're not very hard to come across. And I think it would be better if there was just one or two nades placed on the map, and you had to fight over them, and you had to gain control of them. You could still keep the low health, but the grenades would have to be something you'd work for. What I'd also like to see is some sort of power weapon which allowed you to go off, you know. And in Call of Duty you see a lot of people trying to go for these snipe aces and just snipe top plays, and it's the same with CSGO. People love to see people go off with a high skill curve weapon. Right now we've just kind of got your base utility weapons and your SMGs, and I don't think that it doesn't necessarily open the playing field to lots of different kind of gunplay, and that's what I want to see in this kind of game mode. I want to pick up a power weapon and just go absolutely ham-bone with it. They've got the battle rifle, that's pretty much the best you can get on this game, but they reward it for free to your team and the enemy's team, and basically the person who's closest to it gets it, and I don't necessarily enjoy that style of play. I just think it can be kind of boring when you don't have the battle rifle and you have to use the SMGs and pistols, but the battle rifle can kind of force plays and can kind of dominate the battlefield whilst also retaining control of a very powerful position on the map at all times. So stuff like that I would like to see changed, but I love the Breakout. I love the formula for this game, and I think it has a really good bones to move forward with and will draw in a lot of new players. And I'm also excited to see where it goes in the future. Anyway, I've been Modest Major. Hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Thanks for watching. Peace out.